Good afternoon. This is Trader Tim from EminiMind, and today I just want to do a quick portfolio rundown. What a couple of trades I took last week, and kind of run through today's ES. Haven't had a lot of ES trades lately, but a couple of swing trades that I wanted to highlight. So first off, looking at the daily S&P here, uh, it was pretty obvious. Friday's close was a great time to do a put hedge over the weekend, and I just did that on the SPY. We traded, to the first 50% retracement here, made it down to close to its target. You can see I have a 4100 long down below. That's actually an extension from highs of just before the COVID sell-off to our all-time highs, and that put us basically right at the 50% long last week when we gapped down. And so Friday closing kind of between the 50 and the 61.8, it was just a no-brainer to buy some puts. Had we not gapped down today, let's say we moved higher, then if we moved above the 61.8 or if we gapped up at the open this morning, I just closed the position out. Since I was using it sort of as a hedge for the weekend in case we had some kind of gap down, which we did, I just used this Friday's expiration. So really short term, closed out half at the open, and then close out the remaining half at the close. I probably could get away with keeping half or a quarter of the position on another day if we were to go lower. But let's say we just go sideways, or it takes 2 or 3 days to sell off anymore, then the rest of that position would likely start to erode pretty quickly as we get towards expiration. The opposing 50% is down here, and again, I bought these on the SPY. So today's trade or price action mostly inside of yesterday's, and we'll likely see a lot more of the kind of ping-ponging between the 50 and the 61.8. Probably some big price swings in the overnight. If we look at the overnight session, you can see we already traded down to this 50% actually last night, and we kind of bounced off of that 42.50 area. So expect some of that, a lot of those gaps to continue over the next week or two for sure. The other trade, I guess it's not really a swing trade, I guess it was a day trade on Thursday, was a play in Tesla. Just going long off the open, off of that first 15-minute bar. Anytime we have a really big gap, there's an opportunity for big movement. Sometimes it's a gap and go in that direction. In this case, everyone loves to buy Tesla. So figured, well, here's a good opportunity. First 15-minute bar, just buy over the high, stop below the low. I've done this on lots of individual stocks, and I tend to just do it on the stock itself. You could do like an option position or something like that, but I just take the high of the first 15-minute bar and minus basically take the candle's range. High of the bar minus the low of the bar. It's about 37 points, and so if you wanted to risk $370, you would divide 37 into 370 and you buy 10 shares. So pretty basic. You want to risk $1,000, divide 37 into 1,000, boom, that's your risk. If we were to break the low, you'd be stopped out. Otherwise, just hold it into the close. And so, get to that 5-10 minutes before the close, and then I'll just close it out. So that was a little day trade on Friday or on Thursday, and then I also bought more in my kind of my IRA, my longer term account, talking like 10 plus year account here, not short term, when we opened on Thursday. I've got this is the 10% pullback line, this is the 20% pullback line. Anytime we make a 20% correction, great opportunity to add to a long term position if you're bullish in the long run, which data says you should be. So I took the basically the profits that I made on the put hedges on the way down, and then I reinvested that into the longer term position that I was hedging. So it's a pretty cool way to not have to stress out about selling at the highs and then buying it back at the lows, and then what happens if you sell out here on what appears to be a double top and then it goes higher and then you buy it back and then you miss the gain from where you sold to where you bought. And to me, it's just there's enough other ways to be actively trading. And I know a couple of folks who basically keep all their money in their trading accounts and don't have any long term. But for me, you know, it makes me sleep better at night having a long term account, and I can just kind of set it and forget it and add to it. And so because of doing the hedges from the move down, and then adding, buying more of the VUG fund, the account balance is essentially the same as it was when we were at all-time highs. And so um, I've got more shares now. So when we do return to all-time highs, then the account balance is going to be much higher, not to mention dividends. And it's the same thing I've done, in the COVID sell-off. Everyone's panicking and selling it, as the market's, tanking. And I'm just kind of doing the opposite and buying, hedging on the way down, and then buying, and just kind of repeat. They've done that for 15 plus years now, and it's worked really well. So let's take a look at the ES. Oh, I guess one more. Let's talk about Bitcoin real quick. Um, we came down and kind of made like almost like a double bottom off of. If I go real big here, off of this kind of all-time 50%, I guess, if you will. It's kind of a mess down here, but you can see we've kind of retested the 34,000 area a couple times, and this is kind of the major swing high on the weekly prior to this high here. So on the weekly, you kind of have a lower high and then a higher low, almost like a start of a triangle. But then if we go into the daily, you can see this swing high that was taken out. And I did a little buy at 36,000 when we came down. But otherwise, everything else I have is in ETH and a couple other small coins. So I took most of it out at basically all of it, all of the Bitcoin that I had out at 59,000, and then converted the rest to ETH. So kind of starting with a fresh position and in Bitcoin at the 36,000 level, and just gonna swing it. If it gets to 75, then I'll probably sell, or even 70 up here. I'd probably take some off and then do it all over again. So not going to get that $200 run up to 20 or 60 as far as exponential growth, but there's still some decent gains to be had. So let's look at the ES today real quick. It was kind of a tough morning session with a handful of conflicting signals. We had the gap down. We developed the high and low of the first 30 minutes, and then we kind of stayed in that range. That's always something to watch out for. If we stay within, notice we bumped above by a tick, a couple of ticks above the first 30-minute high, and then we fell back down. And then we came down and made this double bottom down here, and then took off yet again. There was a long setup that I kind of wanted to take off of lows, so off of this leg of the double bottom, but I chose not to. It ended up trading pretty decently, but I chose not to because we came to the halfway back short, like so. And the halfway back short traded first, and then we traded at the long. And while in this instance the long ended up working out and the short failed, you want to look at 50 instances where you come up to a larger halfway back short and then trade at the long. And if you do that, if you look at bigger groups of trades, then it will become much clearer, and you end up having a lot more confidence because you see the patterns in a bigger data set. Sometimes if you're just kind of poking your head in to the markets here and there, if you're trading part-time, you can just be stuck with, well, this happened yesterday, so I'm going to trade that way. Or I got burned by doing this yesterday, so I'm going to do the opposite today. And you're kind of always on the back foot. So it's helpful to kind of look at things in groups. And if you want to tune in and kind of follow along, we do a Tuesday live trading session over at EminiMind.com/VIP. You can ask questions there and walk through the charts and kind of narrate as best I can with what I'm seeing and where I'm placing trades and things like that. So if you have other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, and have a great week.